Welcome to the next video of chapter 3. And in chapter 3 we've been exploring operators and more details about operators, including understanding operator precedence previously. But we need to also understand operator associativity. A lot of you might be thinking, like, what does that mean, right? What is operator associativity? And it seems like a weird thing to say about something in programming, right? But it's not that weird, actually. So basically, you need to understand that you need to have a solid grasp of how these expressions in or operators in Java are evaluated, right? And we did develop a certain deep understanding about that when we did operator precedence earlier, but we still need to do associativity, because if presumably if some object has similar precedence, then how does Java resolve those operators, basically? So these are the small level details that you need to understand if you want to get good at Java and do productive programming in Java. So with that, let's push ahead into operator associativity in Java. So let's start. First, again, as I mentioned, what is operator associativity? That is the challenge that we needed to understand, right? So what you need to understand is that in Java, when an expression has multiple operators, operator precedence determines which operator is evaluated. We determined that first. If we look at the precedence scale that we saw in the previous video, based on that, we can understand exactly what operator would be resolved first and what operator will resolve later. Just like mathematics, and in mathematics we discussed if we have all multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition, all of them in the same expression, how do we resolve that, right? We resolve that using certain mathematical rules, which is BODMAS or DMAS, whatever one, however you framed that, but that was how it was framed in my time, basically. But here, that same thing is done on the precedence scale. But if presumably there are multiple objects that have the same precedence, if the objects have the same precedence, so what would we do? The answer at that time is operator associativity, basically. So if an operator is on the same level on the precedence scale, we use operator associativity to determine exactly how that particular value would be resolved by Java, right? Generally speaking, it is the rule that dictates the order in which operators of the same precedence level are evaluated, as I mentioned earlier. And this can be done in two ways, either left to right or right to left. Those are the two major ways how operator associativity resolves precedence equality within its expressions, how Java resolves precedence equality within its expressions. Now that we understand that, let's move on to the first thing, which is left to right associativity. So there are two types of associativity, as we mentioned, left to right and right to left. So when we talk about left to right associativity, we need to understand that most operators in Java follow left to right associativity. So 90% of all associativity issues by Java would be resolved using left to right, which means that when multiple operators of the same precedence appear in the expression, Java almost always evaluates them from left to right. So as you can see on the screen right now, we have an expression right next to a heading called which has an int variable declared called result, which has value 10 minus 4 plus 2, as you can see here, right? And if we do presumably we need to understand that while it's here, it means that we need to do left to right associativity, right? Like in most cases. So if we resolve this or if Java evaluates this expression, it would be 6 plus 2, 8. That's the result, because we're doing left to right associativity here. That's how it would resolve that. And as you can see in the output, that's the answer we're getting from Java as well. Similarly, we need to understand exactly what is happening here, right? So first, 10 minus 4 is evaluated since subtraction and addition have the same precedence level and follow left to right. So as you can see, we have only subtraction and addition here. They are on the same level on the precedence ladder, which means they need to be resolved through associativity. And associativity here, on most cases that is applied, is left to right associativity. Then 6 plus 2 is left. After 10 minus 4, 6 is there. Then we add 2. That becomes 8, basically. Now that we understand left to right associativity, let's go to the right to left associativity that we mentioned earlier as well. And this is a relatively more rare, but at the same time doesn't mean that we don't need to understand this and this doesn't happen in Java. It does happen, so we need to understand this and develop an understanding around this as well. So let's talk about right to left associativity, right? This basically mostly applies to assignment or unary operators, basically. What do we mean by that? So 90% of the things work on left to right associativity. But then there's right to left associativity that mostly applies to assignment operators and unary operators. So if you see those two operators, mostly it's right to left resolution, but if you don't see them, it's usually left to right associativity basically. So here, as you can see in the chart below, we have declared three variables in the code below rather, int ABC. And then on line 2 we equate a equals to b equals to c equals to 5, and then we system.out and print the value of a. So what happens here basically? Java first evaluates the value of c is 5, right? It's right to left associativity. So once we declared these values and we have assignment operators here, which means it's right to left associativity. So first Java evaluates that the value of c is 5. Then based on that, result is assigned to b. And then finally b, which is the result of a, is assigned to a. Since assignment operator has right to left associativity, the assignments happen from right to left here. So always remember, in most cases at this level, what you need to understand is that right to left associativity applies on assignment and unary operators basically. Let's break things down and make them a little more easier. Let's look at the quick breakdown of operator associativity in Java. So if we have multiplicative operator category, which is multiplication, division, and modulus, it works right to left. As you mentioned, most of them are right to left. Only assignment and unary operators are left to right. Then we have additive values, which is positive and negative operators, which also go from left to right. Then we have relational operators, which are basically greater than, less than, less than, less than equal to, and greater than equal to. They also work on the left to right associativity principle. Equality operators, we have two assignment operators, which means equal to, and we have an exclamation mark assignment operator, which is not equal to. But here, I mean, this is the point to note down right now, is when I mentioned earlier, assignment and unary operators go from right to left. But equality operators like two assignment operators and exclamation mark assignment operator, which is equals to and not equals to, are from left to right. This seems kind of weird. Like, it is contrary to what I mentioned before. But if you again rewind the video and focus on exactly the term I used, assignment operators and unary operators are mostly right to left. Mostly, right? Emphasis on mostly. It means there are some assignment operators and unary operators that are not right to left, but rather left to right. As I mentioned above, left to right is the main associativity principle. 90% of the operators work on that are of the same precedence level are handled using that principle. So based on that, you need to understand that you need to get this, like this table here. This is a cheat sheet. You will see this in the book as well, and this cheat sheet would help you understand how to resolve that. And once you get into the groove of things, you'll slowly understand that how these things work without even looking these things up. And then we have logical AND operator, which is two ampersand symbols, which is again from left to right. Then we have logical OR, which is upward dash, which is also from left to right. And finally, we have an assignment operator like equals, plus equals to, an increment equality, decrement equality, multiplicative equality, the divisive equality, and modulus equality. All of them follow the right to left principle, coming back to the assignment and unary operators mostly are right to left and associativity rules. After that, let's move on to the most common practices and common mistakes and best practices in associativity in Java. So basically, you need to understand that many beginners make mistakes when dealing with operators associativity, and some due to those mistakes and the most common mistakes that we see, we have come with an understanding of one of the most common ways people make mistakes or forget about this associativity principle and make mistakes based on not remembering the associativity rules. So one way to do that is just like mathematics. Brackets, a BODMAS rule mentions that the brackets are the most pertinent, important aspect to any precedence principle. So if there's a bracket, you need to resolve the bracket first before coming back to anything else. So use parentheses to explicitly define evaluation order. So instead of leaving it up to the associativity or precedence principles of Java, you can use brackets to immediately define exactly how you want the evaluation to work and in what order, right? Similarly, number 2, you shouldn't assume left to right evaluation for all operators, because there is right to left associativity for some operators, and we're not going too deep into that, but there's some niche operators out there that do that, and we need to keep an eye out for that. And never assume left to right evaluation. So if you have a bug, or some code is not working as you want, or some expression is not giving the value that you expected to give, then spend some time and verify whether it's right to left associativity happening there. Also, finally, be careful with assignment chaining as it follows right to left associativity, because that's tricky and that might create some tricky problems for your application. So I think that wraps up this video on operator associativity in Java. Now that you understand Java, how Java processes expressions with multiple operators, you need to understand that this is, again, we're building those foundational building blocks on which you can become good in Java, right? So based on that understanding, we'll be moving forward to the next aspects of Java. If you found this video helpful on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell on smart architectural programming. And if you're following around our associative video in the introduction to Java book, you have taken another step towards understanding and developing the foundation necessary for you to become good in Java. So also if you have some time, please drop in a comment below if you have questions, so that we can answer them and help you get better in Java. With that, we're going to wrap up for this video and see you in our next video. Thank you.